All right, we're in the 2022 BRZ. I'm with my buddy Mike.
Hey!
You started your own YouTube channel. We filmed a Camaro video together.
Yeah, and it got a lot of likes.
It got a lot of likes, and everyone was like, this guy should have his own YouTube channel.
And I'm like, I can afford a GoPro.
Yeah, so what's it called?
Just Car People Things.
I love it. Cool.
Yeah, it seems very appropriate for us.
We just filmed my Type R. We're going to go for a
fun.
little rip in this BRZ, but I want to walk you around this first, because you had a, what year was your BRZ?
I had a 2018 Performance Pack BRZ.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, this is same color as
Are we
yours.
going to have like a weird Inception moment where we're both looking at each other with our GoPros
This is
on?
it, yeah. This is it. It's going to be a very quick walk around because it's raining.
A little rainy. So I had a 20 BRZ that was the Performance Pack, had the Brembos on it, which I think solved one of the big issues with the new cars. The stock brakes on these, not in love with.
Yeah, they're pretty terrible.
They need that.
I need to upgrade these pads.
But you've got full Safari mode going.
Yep, it's a good time.
You got the Wildpeak kind of faux terrain tires.
Yeah, they perform really well off-road.
They look great.
In the wild, they're very capable.
Yeah.
All right, that's enough of a walk around.
I was gonna say I'm not wiping it. But the great part about this is that Mother Nature has now provided us a low traction environment for us to drive this thing.
That's exactly why we're here.
And in that case, knowing how TheTopher drives, this is the seat belt. It goes in this right here. Extra. Make sure I lock it, you know.
Yeah, this thing is a good time. I've always wanted to build a Safari to BRZ, and here we are.
Yeah.
It's better than I thought it would be.
It's got a real interesting vibe to it, that's for sure, as you just are constantly sideways. You mentioned it has a 4.3 rear diff out of my old BRZ, out of the first generation BRZ. So you've got a little bit more grunt down at the bottom end.
Helps a lot, yeah.
Sure.
I always felt like the gearing with the 410 was just too tall for this size of a car, and this makes it feel like more Miata-esque between gears. You know, it's just nice.
I really enjoyed mine. I put probably 40,000 miles on mine, 50,000 miles on mine, 29 miles a gallon, comfortable, reliable.
Yep.
I had the what? It's backwards. Which one did I have? The Premium or the?
You had the Limited, which is the
which
top
of course
trim.
is the nicest one. That one's got the leather seats and the heated seats and is a little bit nicer inside. It's backwards in Subaru land because this is a Premium and it is the least optioned model.
Yeah, Premium is base model. And then in Toyota land, the Premium is the Premium model and the base is just the base. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's all messed up.
It was funny because we were looking at this in your garage next to the Type R, and I love this color. This is the color to buy one of these in, right? But like, you could see that on the Type R, the paint quality was so much better.
Oh my gosh, of course.
It's hilarious. Like, that was one of the complaints I had about my car. It was just brutal to keep it looking nice. But this is the color to get this in, and I think it's super, super fun.
It's a rally car color.
It is.
Yep. It wasn't by choice. I kind of wanted a black one for some reason, but I'm very happy with this.
Incognito, given how you were driving it.
Exactly.
Well, I had the option when I bought my 1LE. I had the option when I bought my 1LE to go to a Rapid Blue, right? That bright blue that's on the Corvette.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I'm like, man, I drive this thing on a long highway commute. The last thing I'm doing, I've got the Riverside Blue, which is a little more like this color.
Yep.
So.
Nice thing about all terrains, great range traction.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this is really solid. It's really coming down.
And they're 205s, so it just cuts right through the standing water.
The dampening.
Yeah. I've turned my BRZ into a Lexus.
Yeah, it's so funny because I just got out of your Type R a few minutes ago, and that thing is just like it almost reminds me of like the ZL1 1LE where it's just too stiff. There's no setting where it's soft enough, and then you get in this, and it's like galloping along here. But,
it's a little silly.
It's super silly, but you know what? That's the joy of it. And you think about it all in, modifications, everything, all in. You're probably, with this car brand new, 30 grand, 32 grand.
Yeah.
With all the parts, with all the, the brand new car, 0 miles on it off the lot. This is a lot of fun for $30,000.
There's nothing more fun for the money. For a new car.
For a new car?
Yeah.
For a brand new car?
Yep.
I mean, I drove an 18 WRX STI a few days ago, same color, right? What a great car that was, but it had 40,000 miles on it, and, it had been modified, and, finding a stock one of those for around 30 grand that hasn't been beaten to death. Awful tough.
It's hard. It's so hard. Yeah.
Super hard.
You do not want to get an STI that's been tuned because those motors do not like modification. They like factory maps.
Yep.
And factory boost.
Yep.
And they'll run a long time if you maintain them. If you do frequent oil changes, they do great. They love it.
I had a WRX wagon. It was a AJ255. So it was a 2006 WRX wagon. So not an STI, but it was a 2.5 liter WRX. And let me tell you, I put 60,000, 70,000 miles in that car. The only thing I ever had to do was put a clutch into it.
Yeah.
And you know what?
That was an awesome car.
It was completely stock. It had an exhaust, like a catback exhaust, and that was it.
That's it. That's all you need.
I like that Subaru stupid misfiring Volkswagen Plus sound that is, our friends at Top Gear reminded us is the sound of an approaching idiot anywhere in the world. But that was a great car.
A degenerate.
You could haul anything in it. It had a ton of room inside.
Yeah.
And had a really high practicality factor. But that's really the other perk. The other perk to these BRZs. I find them to be very practical for what they are, especially given their size.
Yeah. The only knock against this new generation is the trunk opening is a little bit smaller, so I can't like fit a mountain bike or larger items in the back. But the space is still there. The seat folds way forward, so you can kind of squeeze items into the passenger side.
4 race tires in it.
Yep, absolutely, all the time.
It's very doable to fit 4 tires into it.
You can even fit these oversized all-terrain tires in the jack area.
Nope.
In the spare tire well, yeah. Just barely.
Decent size back seat. I mean, I've got my legroom up here, but I could pull it forward, and it wouldn't be very comfortable for an extended period. But I don't know. I think in the 2 years and however many tens of thousands of miles I had my BRZ, someone sat in the back seat twice.
Yeah, sure. I put my son in the back of his rear-facing child seat. This seat's all the way forward in the dashboard, but it works. Like I could take my son places in this feasibly if I needed to.
Yeah.
I don't opt to very often, but
it's doable.
It's doable, yeah.
Well, and it's one of our buddies has another 1LE. Like I have the Camaro 1LE SS. His daughter, who's 3 or 4, she's got a booster seat in the back. It's perfect for her.
Sure.
It's great. And he's 6'4", and she sits behind him.
That's awesome.
In the Camaro. So there's a little bit of room. And wildly, as we're talking about just cars that have room inside, I did recently sit in and was in a new Charger, and was reminded by that is the last truly big sports car.
It's huge.
It's so big inside.
The trunk is made for just like passengers or something. I don't know. There's a lot of space back there.
Bodies.
It's ridiculous.
So yeah,
the bodies.
The whole back seat is giant, very comfortable. But they kind of dynamically, it kind of reminded me of this too. Real boaty, just real kind of not super dialed down and floaty.
And the crazy thing about the BRZ too is it is just so much softer than the GR86. Like we just had a GR86 loan a few weeks ago.
Oh yeah,
and it's amazing how much stiffer that car is. Yeah,
it's funny because the last gen, the FRS 86 and the BRZ, you could blindfold somebody and they were
so similar.
Close, you would be hard pressed. The Subaru was like a titch nicer inside, but man, super entertaining when you get a new one because they're really different now.
Yep. Yeah, I prefer the suspension tuning in these new cars. This BRZ is more balanced than the previous gen. The previous gen used to understeer quite a bit, even with the refreshed suspension. And then the GR86 just kind of takes it up a notch. It's a little bit stiff and loud, new GR86. So if you want comfort, go for the BRZ. And if you want comfort, don't Safari your BRZ.
Yeah, if you want comfort, go buy a Lexus RC.
That too, yeah.
Yeah, go buy an RCF.
Yeah, RCF is a good choice.
Used RCF.
Yep. It's fast enough.
It is, and I will say that the engine is still similarly very joyless to me.
But also, we're going to be seeing a new GR86 here in a few years.
True.
With a turbo 3-cylinder and some hybridization.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a more expensive car, but that's the way it goes.
And I'm okay, with that. The kind of the perk to these is they've always been a relatively cheap car. Whoa.
Feel that dirt traction?
Yeah. It's shocking how much it feels like an all-wheel drive car.
Yeah.
It's really pretty wild.
There's no wheel spin. You have to try to get wheel spin out of this. And it soaks up bumps like that. Well, that was a huge bump.
That was a huge bump.
Didn't see it because it was full of a puddle. It's full of water. but just soaked it right up. Didn't even bottom out suspension.
Yep. Reminds me of that Dodge Ram T-Rex we had for a period.
Braking.
Feels like we're on grout or on tarmac.
Yeah.
A little burnout. Not gonna get old.
It's a good time.
It is a good time. So easy to just kind of manipulate, right? I mean, anything you ask, it'll do. Let me tell you, folks, if you're looking for a winner daily driver and just having no shame about driving a sports car every day, this is a stupid and fun choice. I feel like you probably are in the same boat. Like, you remember being a kid and seeing the rally 911s?
Yes.
You know, the Safari, the
Absolutely.
Dakar kind of 911s, and you'd look at it and you'd be like, that's stupid. You know, like, you'd have that initial reaction of, why would you want that? That's really dumb.
You want that.
And now, like, when you experience this, you're like, oh god, I would love to just fly around a 911 like a total jerk off road.
It's the best. I mean, with Lamborghini coming out with a Sterrato and Porsche with the 911 Dakar,
right?
And those are hundreds of thousands of dollars. This for about $34,000.
Just as much entertainment.
Oh my gosh, it's just as fun.
And you feel way less shame too. Because like when this gets a rock chip, because it's gonna get a rock chip.
Actually, the mud flaps cover everything. I have no issues with rock chips in this.
Mooning around, sooner or later, it's gonna get dinged up a little bit.
A little bit,
but you feel less shame about this than your $200,000.
It's true.
911. Those, if I actually saw someone with one of those 911s at like an ORV park, I would die of a heart attack. it would be the biggest shock of anything that I've ever seen in my entire life. Because you know that all those cars are gonna, one, you have to murder someone to get an allocation, right? And two, you know, when you do get it, it's gonna be your baby, and you're gonna be like, it's gonna be like a bubble in your garage.
Yes.
You know, that you're not gonna allow children, most adults near. So, you know, we put a lot of those cars up on the pedestal, and for good reason, right? I mean, they're collector cars, they have a lot of value and everything else, but this is something you can really drive every day and have a ton of fun with it the entire time.
And the best part is, it's cheap, and what we just talked about, it's stress-free.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, that's something, I think, when you're big into cars, and your car is your baby, and, you know, you might have financially, like, maybe the car you drive every day is also your baby, right? Not everybody can have a third, fourth, fifth car. You worry a lot about it.
Sure.
And, like, you know, you're parking way out and back. You don't want to park near people. You're, you know, really watching for people who are texting and driving and not being attentive. And, you know, you get a little paranoid, OCD about it, right? And this I would feel a lot less shame with, just because the price point and the performance, and it's just a great car to fly around in. So, very different than what I was expecting.
The cool thing about this is I love the freedom to be able to just take this down a dirt road or explore a little bit while I'm on a road trip, and the ability to have a bit of extra ground clearance, not have to worry about parking into a curb when you're at the supermarket.
Oh yeah.
It's just so freeing. It's so liberating.
That 1LE spoiler on my car is about a solid 4 inches out from the front of the car, and it's like,
I don't have to worry about it.
I'm always getting you parked way back from the curb. It's like, yeah, man, I don't want to be using 3M tape to put the spoiler back on halfway home. Like, no thanks.
Yep.
And dynamically, it's so tail happy. It's very engaging to drive, right? It forces you to be attentive. It forces you to kind of have a little bit of fun with it, which I really appreciate.
It is the most fun in the winter, though.
Oh, I believe that.
Yep. A little extra power in the cold weather, and a little bit less traction with all the salt down, everything, you know.
It's just a little more grit out there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I like these all-terrains because they have more traction overall than a winter tire would by a long margin in 90% of conditions, except for snow. But they still have sidewall stiffness, which means they don't fall apart around a corner. Like in the dry, this actually has a good amount of grip. You have to work to get this thing sideways.
Yeah.
And
you definitely are adding a lot of boot to it, like a lot of throttle to it to really make it rotate. Your reliability has been pretty good on this, though.
Oh, it's been flawless. No issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously, does it eat a little oil? I found mine ate a little oil.
No, didn't burn a drop.
Yep.
Yeah, I've done 2 track days with this. That's it. And yeah, it hasn't burned any oil.
Yeah, I found mine would also chew a little coolant. I find Subaru boxer motors
absolutely, especially in the winter.
Yeah, they're maybe a cup a year,
yep.
or a cup every few months. So just a little bit of coolant here and there, a little bit of oil. Yeah, I probably add a quart between a 5,000 mile change.
Yeah, I haven't noticed those same issues with this new BRZ. Here's a little jump. Barely feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I love about this car is just the ride comfort.
Yeah, even mine was on PFO1s on stock tires, so they were a little bit stretched. And PFO1s are a little stretched. Mm-hmm. So it was the stock, I think, what's the 215 tire?
Yeah.
If I remember right. 215, 17, it was like a 40 profile. And that little bit of stretch, and it gave you a little bit of steering feel, which these cars already have great steering feel. The flip side of it was, on Michigan roads, it could be a little bit uncomfortable. And I've been to wheel once.
Yeah.
That's something worth mentioning.
That's right. Yeah, I've tried to avoid that with Braid wheels and super high profile tires.
Yeah. Do you think we could do this to my 1LE?
Yeah.
Spacer lift?
It'd be hilarious and so worth it.
I don't know if the mag dampeners would really like this behavior.
I mean, it's just a spacer at the top of the suspension. So,
okay. So are they like Delrin pucks or something like that?
Kind of, yeah.
Pucks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You've seen that in cheap world. You see that in a lot of more off-road spec vehicles. I do drive my 1LE in the winter. I would like the record to state that.
Yeah.
And on snow tires, it is really good to drive. I have no issues with it. Everyone's always like, "You're gonna die." It's like, put the right tire on it.
You'll be fine.
Look, if you're getting 14 inches of snow, why are you driving anywhere anyways?
Yeah, exactly. You should be on the roads.
We have an SUV, we have a GX460. If I gotta get somewhere truly an emergency in a really bad situation, I'm just gonna take the SUV. And so for those out there that think you can't drive one of these every day, you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. I love that you can just rotate in place. Like you're just like, I'm gonna use the front wheels to sort of.
It's a great turning radius.
Mark my turn.
It's true. You want to drive?
Yes.
All right. Let's just start right here. And we'll find a good pull off.
Well, you are the only person going 55 on a dirt road.
Yeah, I mean the speed limit's 55.
It actually is. That's my fault. Actually, It's a long story, but my day job, it actually is a little bit my fault. So.
Good spot.
All right. Man, you gotta have stock in a pressure washing company.
I mean, yeah, a little trip with the car wash, and
Don't use that brush.
the underbody's already filthy, and with the ceramic coating, it actually comes off pretty quickly.
We're also going to comment on the fact that without talking to each other, we basically wore the same outfit.
Yeah, I know. Jeez.
So, we're not related, folks. I really promise you, we are merely friends. It is how did we meet? You were a photographer, and you were doing wedding work.
Yeah, we met at a wedding. We talked autocross for like an hour during dinner.
And found out that the following weekend we were actually racing against each other in
Yeah,
the same class.
that's right.
Because I had an NA Miata, and you had an NA Miata.
Yep.
Your family had an NA.
one of the professors at Albion. Yeah, just send it.
Introduced us.
I don't even know where we are, so just keep taking turns. Everything's off, go nuts.
We'll just stuff it in the 5th gear and roll along. One more click back. Just gotta get all my settings right.
Yep.
My legs are longer. So
I'm just memorizing everything you're doing, and then I'll undo later.
Right. I know. I feel bad. I got in your Type R this morning, and that car's everything's still manual. Like, you don't think about that, but like even the seats in a Type R are still a manual seat, and I was like adjusting everything, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. What a great car to heel toe.
Oh yeah, it's so responsive now.
Just the one thing I'll say, this seems a little revier, which is crazy to say that. It seems revier than the last generation car.
Yeah.
Like it seems like it's a little happier to rev. So
extra torque, extra power. Barely feel the torque dip anymore.
Yeah, I don't get that at all in the power band.
Yeah.
But man, the handling is so good on the dirt. I'm shocked by this.
It's at home here. Like it loves it. It rides so soft, so smooth, soaks up all the bumps.
Do you have a trailer hitch for this for your bike, for like a bike rack?
Yeah.
So you can take your bikes with you?
Yeah. It's so I can go mountain biking.
You'd also need to pressure wash the bikes in the back of this.
Exactly. Yeah.
You need a portable pressure washer. But yeah, we're on washboard. Like I'm almost aiming for the washboard, and it's also shocking. This generation is much quieter too. That's the other thing to mention.
They made huge improvements with NVH.
Yeah, because the last gen car, if I knocked my hand up here, up on the ceiling, it would literally sound like a bass drum.
Yeah.
You hear the metal, underneath it, and this is not that. So
yeah, it's significantly stiffer chassis wise. You can dip a tire in here. Yeah. And I love the size of these cars. They're just the right size. They're small. They're flickable. They can fit through tiny gaps. Yep.
Easy to park. I always like mine. It was always shocking when people would look in and be like, "That has a back seat in it." It's like, well, yeah, it does actually. So super fun. You can kind of stand on the brakes.
Yeah.
And just a little boot of throttle. You just make it wag, That's great.
Just get squirrely.
Yeah, and that's fine. But it's so controllable. And the other thing is, like, we're going around that corner there and 20 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So like the consequences are so low, and you can really just have a great time with it. Amazingly, at 55 miles an hour on dirt road, it's comfortable. That's mind blowing to me. I mean, even in my GX460 in comfort mode, if you were rolling along on this stretch of road, you would think that parts were going to fall off the car.
Yeah. No, it's amazingly compliant.
Who would have thought that Subaru, with all their rally heritage, built a great sports car that could then be turned into a great rallycross off-road vehicle
that isn't all-wheel drive?
That isn't all-wheel drive.
That's the only thing. It's the only question I get all the time about this car is it all-wheel drive? And I'm like, nope, it's real drive, and it's better for it.
It's better for it.
Yep.
Well, I was in the STI the other day. Center diff control. You can dial your diff.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Right, so you can bias it towards the back or bias it towards the front. And I have always thought that Subarus, because of their setup and everything else, have historically always felt a little bit more rear-wheel drive.
Absolutely, yeah.
Than their counterparts. The Evo, for example, always to me when I drove it, even I'm going to use this turn signal.
BMW's turn signals.
I know. But the Evo always felt more like a front-wheel drive car to me. And I know that's probably sacrilege to say that, but the nature of the motor, the height of the motor, where it sits in the car, they're a little more nose-heavy than the Subarus, at least seemingly in their handling. And that was, having owned one and driven another. But
I mean, they handle like the best front-wheel drive car ever with all-wheel drive power out of corners. But yeah, no, the STIs, like especially on dirt, gravel, a little bit of lift off, throttle, and it just rotates so beautifully.
Left here?
Yeah, left here is good.
I'm shocked too that it seems like from a turning perspective on tarmac that you haven't messed with anything enough to impact things like scrub radius and like how it feels mid-corner. And you would think with this tire on it and with the suspension lift that it would change geometries in a way that would be awkward or a little bit weird, but that actually doesn't seem like the case at all.
The changes are barely perceptible. It's crazy. Like you go and put the Michelin stock primacy tires back on this, and it handles just like a regular BRZ. It feels exactly the same. It's crazy, yeah. The only difference is there's just a little bit more float over bumps, over big undulations and big bumps.
Right.
There's just that one more body motion.
Well, and these already have a very low center of gravity from the get-go. So from a dynamics perspective, it's not like you're making the car tippy.
No.
You know, like, because if you did this to something a little taller, right, that maybe has a little bit, more...
Higher center of gravity, yeah.
Yeah, more motor higher up in the car, a higher seating position, all this different stuff. Especially like the crossover SUVs. And I want to say it was it the X3M that you drove, or X5M that you were like, this is the best worst car I've ever driven?
Yeah.
Where,
it was like bouncing around corners.
Right, it's like you've taken something that is supposed to be this pickup truck.
Yeah.
Right, that's got ground clearance and that can actually kind of go off-road, and then suddenly you've made it a sports car and given it really stiff dampening and given it a really crazy motor and driveline, and it, like, dynamically when you drive it, it's trash.
Yep. It's messy.
Fighting itself.
The best SUV is the one that I have this week. It's the Durango Hellcat. The Durango SRT, the Durango Hellcat, and maybe the Tow and Go package have the best chassis of any big SUV because Dodge figured it out.
Yeah. We were talking about Dodge earlier from an industry perspective, and they, there's this long-running joke that, like,
quick right left chicane here.
We're going straight.
Take a right. Hard on the brakes. There we go.
It's just so easy.
Yeah.
I keep waiting for it to do something untoward, like to understeer or to not do what I want it to.
Yep.
And because
even with traction back on, the stock traction control system here, like with the new cars, is miles better than what it was.
Yeah,
before.
The old traction control system, I would run constantly in
track mode or
track
something.
Mode.
Yeah, this is track mode too. But even in this setting, you can play around a little bit on the street, get a little bit of slip angle, and it's beautiful.
It's a little floatier under power.
Yep.
Like not in a bad way, not in an uncontrolled way. Just you can kind of feel the height a little bit.
Yep.
But we were talking about Dodge, and I want to bring this up because they are probably one of the few companies until later this year when they stop building the Charger Challenger that are truly building nothing but cars that feed your inner monkey.
Oh my gosh.
Like it turns you into an absolute tickling the lizard part of your brain.
Yeah. Worst interiors, best smiles, best laughs.
Yeah, because what's the downside, right?
Yep.
Like, come back around here. So that traction control was a little intrusive there, but that's okay. Saved us.
Saves you, yeah.
Got a little bit of bounce coming on the highway, but get up to highway speed here. It's so interesting that these feel a little they feel more fake Honda than they ever did before to me.
Yeah.
Because it's only coming on power at 6,000. You start to hear that the variable valve timing really get into it around 6,000 RPM. But yeah, it's good.
Yeah, this versus the S2000 would be an interesting track lap test, and I could still feasibly track this car. I have some sticky tires for it, but
that'd be very entertaining.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do a couple laps someday, right before the warranty runs out.
Take the spacers off, trade it in.
Or no, actually, I feel very confident in the reliability of this car because it's not pulling G-forces.
Right,
and
it'll slide before it pulls G's.
Exactly, yeah.
So
and
your oiling problems probably go away.
Oiling problems, don't have to worry about it. In a straight line and on left-hand turns, it's fine. NASCAR all day long.
Yep. And here we are, so 75, 80 miles an hour.
It's great.
I mean,
yeah.
Probably a lot more comfortable than that Wrangler up there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Which those things are constantly. For those of you who've not driven a two-door Wrangler on the highway, there's a lot of of correction. You spend a lot of time, you know, spending just these little inputs.
Every time I drive a Jeep Wrangler, I'm like, I can't believe a mass majority of consumers drives this in the modern era.
People would ask me all the time. They'd say, I want a convertible, but it needs to have 4 seats.
Yep.
And I would look straight at them and I go, you need the last 4-door convertible sold in America. And that's changed now with the Bronco.
Yep.
But the Wrangler, for years, was the only 4-door convertible sold in America. And it's like so laughable. They'd look at me and be like, well, what do you mean? You know, I want a 4-door convertible or 4-seat convertible that's comfortable and easy, you know, relatively easy to drive, and you know, it does what I want it to do. And the short answer is that you should go buy a Jeep Wrangler.
Yep.
Because you're never gonna want a Mustang or, you know.
Now the answer is a Bronco, because the Bronco drives like a sports car.
It's true, the Bronco does drive really
Yeah.
well. The only problem with the Bronco is it's a little bit, how do we say this nicely? Belowy, uppy. Is that
the 6 cylinders are a little explodey. Yeah.
A little explodey.
You can take it right here.
And again, what a lovely car to heel toe. It reminds me of my S2000 in that regard.
Yeah. Yeah, that pedal commander really made a big difference with engine response, because the stock throttle mapping from Subaru is horrible. Just the worst.
Yeah, I drove it stock and it was not great.
Miserable.
We're
So
going,
take a left.
Excuse me. Just cutting off a new Chevy Trax.
That's okay.
It's fine. They're driving a Trax. Although the new Chevy Trax, actually a nice car.
I heard it's pretty good. Yeah.
3-cylinder turbo. What is it? You can get like a really nicely optioned one for like 25 grand.
I like these new 3-cylinder turbos. They sound cool. They have more personality than the 4 cylinders. They're more fuel efficient. They might not last as long because they're probably a little more stressed, but who knows?
Yeah. Well,
Most cars these days are so
4-cylinder
reliable.
turbos for a long time too.
Yeah.
So
I think it'll be fine.
yeah.
And then we'll throw some hybridization into it for a minute too.
Well, and you know I'll give Toyota credit for that, right? It's like they are moving towards this hybrid model that I think in the nearer term, in the next 3 to 5 years, is a smarter model.
Makes so
than
much
the
sense.
Battery electric model.
Yeah.
I really do. Not to say that battery electric cars are bad. They're super fun. Go do a pull in a plaid and, you know,
It's
not
still
expect to have a smile on
a
your face.
relatively niche market.
It is.
The adoption is going to take 20 years. It really is.
It's just time.
Yeah.
You know, and it will happen. The tech also gets better every year.
In the United States, at least. In other countries, it's going to happen way faster. But
Yeah.
here it's going to take time.
Well, the stat last year was, so we've got our manual transmission here, which this is just a great manual, wonderful manual transmission. Was it last year or year before was the first year in the United States that there were more electric cars sold than manual transmissions? That statistic has flipped.
Yeah.
And so that just goes to show you, this is the dodo right here.
And more manuals got sold recently than ever before because of the pandemic, because of, people, that was me overheating. But just people want sports cars now,
For sure.
Yeah. All right, well, the GoPro just overheated, so we're doing this outro on the iPhones. But
mine's battery door open. It's like getting a little. It's
That
really
was,
heat on my forehead.
that was super fun. I'm glad you got to drive this finally.
Yeah,
And I'm glad we got
it's a
some
great car.
rain, because I was thinking the rain might clean off the undercarriage, but we drove like 30 miles on a dirt road.
Yeah.
So it's fine. It's dirty. It keeps the salt away. It's like rust protection.
That's you tell you
Yeah.
say that, and then you realize the road's been chlorided.
Yeah, that's right.
It's just-
But then I have Krown rust control, so we're good.
so we're good.
Yeah.
Do that on our GX. So appreciate everybody tuning in.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
That was fun.
Do you want to do a walk around outside?
Yeah, we'll do a quick walk around. Why
Okay.
not? See, this is how I intended this car to look.
Yeah.
Blue and a little bit brown.
It's got a good look to it.
I think it looks right.
It totally looks right.
Yeah.
But what a cool car. This is super fun. I try not to nerd out on every car that I'm in because it's always fun to be in a cool new car. But this is a really unique vehicle and something that you're not going to get really anywhere.
It was so easy to build and so simple to put together. I mean, the lift was like $500, easily installed in your garage, or you could pay someone to do it for a few $100. Mud flaps, they protect this car from all the big rocks and chips. This doesn't have any chips on the side. The only chips are on the rear wheels, and that's just a inherent,
Just them spinning around.
just spinning around. Yeah, that's just what happens when you drive on gravel. And then underneath it's pretty dirty, but it's fine. It's no worse for wear. And I've got this rust proof, so I don't worry about it getting crusty.
Yeah.
PPF on the front, ceramic coating.
Color. I mean,
It's
you
great.
get around here and the sun just pops, and it was actually kind of a bummer because my Camaro is a 1LE. It's in Riverside, right, which is the darker, the more navy blue. And for a period, I had both. So I had the Camaro and this that were in the garage next to each other, and this is a better color.
It's a great color.
It's like a good medium,
Yep.
bright blue that I really like. GM kind of went super bright blue with the rapid blue, and then kind of the more dark navy-ish with the Riverside, and this is kind of right in the middle.
This grabs a lot of attention.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily like the attention all the time, but it is a cool color to walk up to.
And also a
every
soft
time.
spot for blue cars and white wheels.
Yes, 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 of course.
But it looks great.
All right, let's go to the car wash.
Let's go to the car wash.
Yeah, let's do it.
You've built an absolutely idiotic drift car.
It's great. All it does is go sideways. But there's still enough grip to like keep you safe with these all-terrains. It's kind of the perfect balance.
Yeah. Oh my god. It just wants to rotate. It's so good.